EMac, that's you.
It's me. Here we go. It's fun yet confusing because Neil and I both host and we can both be the analyst, but we flip back and forth on NBA because Neil has so many NFL shows and content that he's responsible for on Saturdays. I happily take the reins to be the analyst because, of course, I'm writing the article and I'm already doing one show. We decided to flip the other direction tonight. I got confused.
And you forgot within the last 20 seconds.
Yeah, I had an early dinner. I was getting the tweet already here, getting us sent out. I've got everything ready to go. We're looking at what should be a fun game with your Minnesota Vikings taking on, it's two dueling teams of destiny is what it feels like now. Minnesota rattled off 5 wins. The Broncos have 3 of their own. Both quarterbacks playing much better than expected. Or at least Wilson is playing better than last year. I'd have to say Josh Dobbs is playing better than expected. I mean, my goodness, that guy is the true NFL nomad. But yeah, this looks like a fun one here. No Justin Jefferson is the big one. And then I didn't see any other crazy inactives. Tristan something or other, the 5th wide receiver. He was inactive. That was the only name I recognized. Everybody else is like kickers, linebackers, and extra offensive linemen. So defensive lineman. Yeah. So, but yeah, here we go. So we are brought to you guys by Owner's Box. So that is always fun. You got to hear about them today. Their main selling point, of course, is overlay, which is always key. They also are giving you a $500 deposit match. Your first deposit, they will match up to $500. That will come out at a 4% entry fee rate, which is pretty decent for such a large bonus. I do not believe there's an expiration on that. But then if you put in $10, they're going to give you a lightning round ticket to a contest. And then they are also going to give you a $5 contest entry ticket, just a generic one. So you're basically paying yourself to go drop $10 in there, which is not a bad way to go, but you got to go through our link to do that. So we'll talk about them in a little bit, and I'll show you the best way to understand their different game formats. I will bring you a link to their page there. But otherwise, Neil, this looks like a pretty exciting game. Anything crazy happened in the afternoon games other than the Chargers suck?
I mean, Cooper Kupp got hurt. So, I mean, that
Cooper Kupp got hurt. He ruined my Yahoo teams that were doing rather well.
Khalil Shakir had an 81-yard touchdown. Don't know if you saw that.
I did see that last-minute one. And then we have the Commanders. Horrible. I did not realize that Tommy DeVito set a Giants record. Or it might have even been, I don't remember if it's a Giants record or an NFL record, but 5 touchdowns in his first 2 starts.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think that might have been just a Giants record, but the records, they didn't start keeping up till 1950, which is just a little bit before the Super Bowl era. Wow. So anyway, yeah, kind of crazy.
Good for him. Everybody's been mocking him all week, and Tommy DeVito heard and he responded. Good for him.
I think he was taking it personal that Matt Kajeski was calling him the 12th best quarterback in a 10-quarterback college league.
Yeah, he might have. It sounds like he must have been.
So we've got that. If you guys get some likes, we might get a visit here from the birthday queen herself. Mama Mac turned 80 today.
How many likes is it going to take, EMac?
Oh, gosh. I think it's going to take like 250.
250 likes? That is a big ask, EMac. Guys, get it done. Everybody wants to meet EMac's mother on her 80th birthday.
It can be done. We only have 2 games left, I think, going on right now. We'll have some people trickling in here. So I think we should be able to do it. Yeah, 2 minutes left here in the Seahawks game. Hopefully they don't screw this up, but they are the Seahawks. And then you've got the Bills game wrapping up. So there we go. Let's start in here, Neil. We'll kind of come in from the top here. Josh Dobbs. Is it Josh or Joshua? Which does he prefer? As a Minnesota fan, what do you guys call him up there now that he's a cult hero for 2 different franchises this season?
That's honestly a great question that maybe I should know the answer to. I see him, hear him intermittently being called Josh and Joshua. I typically just call him Josh Dobbs, but everywhere that I see it written, it is Joshua. So I honestly have no idea what his actual preference is.
All right. So here's how he ended up being a starter. He was a 4th-round draft pick in the 2017 draft by the Steelers. Came out of the University of Tennessee, kicked around with them for a few seasons, and then they dealt him to the Jacksonville Jaguars for a 5th-rounder at the start of the 2019 season. The Jags waived him 1 year later, and Pittsburgh reclaimed him literally the next day after he hit waivers. They claimed him, and then he ended up finishing his Steelers career on the injured reserve. Cleveland signed him last spring for additional depth. That was 2022. Of course, they had the whole Deshaun Watson thing going on there last year. But Dobbs was waived in late November as soon as Watson was eligible to play. And then the Titans, Detroit picked him up. He didn't even stay there for 3 full weeks. And then the Titans signed him off the Detroit practice squad. And remember, he started that week 18 game, which was basically a win or go home game between Tennessee and Jacksonville. That was where the legend of Trevor Lawrence really began. But that was kind of where we had Josh Dobbs. Dobbs ended up back this season with Cleveland, who traded him to Arizona, who then traded him to Minnesota. So he's been traded for multiple 5th and 6th round, and I guess a 7th round pick as well. So, wow, that's a lot of moving parts. But did you know he is the 2nd leading rusher among quarterbacks this season, behind only Lamar Jackson?
I did not. That is insane. Man, I guess he's started 10 games and he's obviously been rushing quite a bit. But yeah, to be number 2, I guess Fields has been out, so that helps a little bit. But I did not realize that he's ahead of Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. That's pretty crazy.
Yep. So he's barely ahead of those other guys, but he still has 368 rushing yards. So that's not shabby at all. Denver, of course, has the worst rushing and passing DVOA. But remember, DVOA measures the entire year. They've looked better over their last month. They held Kansas City in 2 games where they beat them in the last game, but they held Kansas City to, what was it, like 27 points over 2 games. And then I guess it was they beat Buffalo, and that whole kerfluffle last week with last Monday, it was not even a week ago, with 12 men on the field and that whole thing, where Lutz got an extra kick. But yeah, Josh Dobbs, decent matchup. He does not have Justin Jefferson, but come on, Jordan Addison, pretty solid guy there. TJ Hawkinson, pretty solid here. Would you put Dobbs at captain? And if you put him at captain, what are your rules? Do you play 1 or 2 pass catchers with him?
Yeah, so the first part is easy. Yes, I'd definitely be happy to put Josh Dobbs at captain. I don't know that he'd be that, like, if I make 1 lineup, he probably wouldn't be my captain. But if I'm making 5, I think if I made 5, I would probably have 1 Josh Dobbs captain. The second part is hard, and to put it in perspective, we have him at about 11% captain ownership. We have him optimal in the captain spot 9% of the time. So slight negative leverage on Dobbs in the captain spot. He has positive leverage in the util. We've got him at 50% ownership, 54% chance of being optimal in the util. So it looks a little bit better in the tools in the util. But the harder part is how many pass catchers do you pair him with? I am going at least 1, and that's the rule that I set. As I said, I just requiring 1 when I have Josh Dobbs at captain, but then also boosting pass catchers, so I'm more likely to get multiple in more of my lineups. This is not something that I'm requiring because, as you said, he has shown quite a bit of rushing upside. Obviously, if you're playing him in captain, ideally you're getting some rushing yards, maybe a rushing touchdown, padding the stats a little bit that way. So I think my preference is, if I have my captain, still probably 2 Vikings pass catchers in the flex, but I'm not requiring. I'm only requiring 1.
All right. How do you feel about Alexander Mattison? He was in the concussion protocol. He got concussed in the last game. We saw Ty Chandler come in for him, 15 carries, 45 yards. It seemed like Ty Chandler was going to get his first real crack at playing time outside of last week, but Alexander Mattison has cleared the concussion protocol. So no Cam Akers, poor Cam Akers, basically works his way out of the doghouse with the Rams, only to go back to the doghouse, then basically told, yeah, we aren't going to play you. And Minnesota said, hey, we'll give you a shot. And then he gets hurt. So what I think we're going to see here is like a 60-40 split, 70-30, 60-40. Madison probably gets the first crack. This is going to render Kenny Nwangwu back to kick return relevance only. It wouldn't shock me if they gave him a designed play or two this week, probably because he was practicing and they're like, oh, well, let's try an end around or a swing pass. Let's get him the ball in space. We can use his speed. That wouldn't shock me, but I don't think it's a realistic outcome here. So how are you feeling about Madison and rookie Ty Chandler?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as you that I think, Alexander Madison, we have no reason to believe that he's going to be supplanted as the lead back, but I do think that it's reasonable to assume that Ty Chandler is going to play a little bit more. Like we're not, it's not because Alexander Madison's coming in banged up. It was a concussion. That's not something that I guess it lingers to some extent, but like it's not going to hamper him during the game unless he takes the hit.
A bruised brain isn't going to hamper you?
Well, it's not the same as like a knee. You know what I mean, EMac. Come on now.
But the concussion protocol makes it sound like it's all better, right?
Exactly. He's 100% good to go. I'm not expecting him to be limited health wise, but I also think it would make sense for them to want to get Ty Chandler a little bit more involved. Ty Chandler has looked good last week when he finally got a little bit of run. So I think that I agree with you. It's more likely to be a split backfield rather than, early in the year, Alexander Madison just kind of had the backfield largely to himself and just other guys worked in a little bit. So it's possible that happens again with Cam Akers out of the picture. Maybe Alexander Madison takes on that bigger role once again, but I think that you have the right read that it's more likely to be like 60-40, 65-35 kind of a split. This is the first time we'll know for sure where, Madison and Chandler are the healthy backs together after we've seen Chandler kind of show himself a little bit at for the Vikings this year. So yeah, I think it's probably going to be Madison and Chandler. How much do I like Madison? He looks fine. Like we haven't projected for around 11 fantasy points, around 24% ownership. Looking at our tools, he looks a little bit over-owned at captain, a little bit under-owned in the flex. We've got him around 30% total ownership, that being 5% in the captain. We have him optimal in the captain 3% of the time. In the util, we have him owned 26%, 28% chance of being optimal. So looks a little bit better in the optimal. In the utility. I think I'm not going to be taking a huge stand on Alexander Madison. Like it is a great spot with the against the Broncos. So if Alexander Madison can ever get it done, maybe this is a spot where he's going to put up a big game. But as you said, the Broncos defense has been a little bit better more recently. Looking at schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed per game, I pulled this up and they've actually allowed 7 fewer schedule adjusted fantasy points per game over the last 5 games than neutral. So like they've actually been very good at not allowing a ton of fantasy points overall over the past 5 games. They have allowed more to running backs in the rushing game. They've actually averaged 2.3 over what you would expect for an average backfield over the past 5 games. So they have been, giving up some extra fantasy points to running backs over the past few games. So I think he's a fine play. He's not like a huge priority for me just because I do think that they are going to work Ty Chandler in there. But if you want to play it, like you think that Madison is just going to go back to his bell cow role against this Broncos defense, I think that he would look really good. But I think that's kind of accounted for. That possibility being in his range of outcomes, I think is accounted for in our tools and in his projection. So I think I'm probably not going to be too far off from where the field is going with Madison. Are you playing it any differently, EMac?
No, I'm going to go the same way. The only other real question is, do you think CJ Ham gets a touch today with this backfield? Otherwise, I think it's really going to be those two guys.
I mean,
1 in 3 chance.
Touch. Yeah, like will CJ Ham?
He only has 3 this year.
Maybe? Yeah,
doesn't he?
That might be. Let me pull
it up
right here.
Ham has. He's had offensive opportunities in 3 games. He has 5 targets, 4 catches, and 16 yards. 7 seasons with the Vikings, 36 total carries, 98 targets. Last year, he did have 2 rushing touchdowns, but just 4 carries. He plays about a quarter of the snaps.
Yeah, he's definitely, he would need to kind of fall into the end zone to pay off his price tag. I don't think I'm going to CJ Ham here with both Chandler, with both Madison and Chandler active for the Vikings. I think those are the only 2 running backs I'm going to, but we do have CJ Ham at 0.3% ownership. So given, the number of routes that he runs, I guess you could theoretically play CJ Ham and just hope that he has a catch and scores a touchdown with that catch. I guess that would pay it off. But 0 carries on the year so far. So not really getting there on the ground. It would have to be probably through the air for CJ Ham. And, obviously a pretty unlikely play to hit.
All right, so that moves us along to the wide receivers. Obviously, no Justin Jefferson, but we do have who is it? CJ Osborne is back.
KJ Osborne.
Jordan Addison has been outstanding. He's averaged 8 targets in the 4 games without Jefferson, so that is pretty good. I think Brandon Powell may have closed the gap between himself and KJ Osborne just a little bit. I mean, Osborne seems to just be running empty routes most of the time, but Powell, in theory, has a little more time now than Osborne does with Josh Dobbs. Maybe that helps. I actually like Brandon Powell. He's a little cheaper. And then Tristan Jackson, he's inactive tonight. So,
well, you're Jalen Naylor, I think, is also a big one that we need to.
Oh, like go ahead.
Jalen Naylor ran routes on 90% of passing plays last week. So I think the Vikings, honestly, I wish that I could tell you I'm a Vikings fan. I know what they're going to do with their receivers. It's very confusing though. Like in the games where all of Addison, Osborne, Powell, Naylor, Jackson have been available, and actually Naylor was on the IR for a while, so I can't even necessarily say he was available. But we've seen, for the most part, with these receivers, we've had Addison followed by KJ Osborne in terms of route participation, and then Brandon Powell as the wide receiver 3. But interestingly, in week 10, it was Jalen Naylor who played 92% of snaps, whereas Brandon Powell only played 67% of snaps when they were both available. So I kind of wonder if Jalen Naylor is now, is going to factor in there now as well. Like I agree with you. It looked like Powell was maybe taking over a little bit of KJ Osborne's role. And now I'm curious if I'm not sure that Jalen Naylor hasn't supplanted both of them. I think that we really don't know what to expect from those 3. I think that it's still pretty clearly Addison is going to be the wide receiver 1 for the Vikings. And then I think it's sort of a crapshoot after there until Justin Jefferson gets back. Obviously, we'll get some clarity today, but we have Jalen Naylor only projected for 3 fantasy points. He is the min price though, so at the min price, not getting a ton of ownership. Just given the fact that he actually ran more routes than Brandon Powell last week, I'm tempted to play some Jalen Naylor also.
That is a good call out. I think I had him classified with the tight ends when I was doing my initial look, and I just sort of said, I'm not worried about it, because you're right. I mean, you're right. He didn't play. He was active week 1, saw 1 snap week 2, and then didn't see the field again.
He was on the IR for a while.
Yeah. So clearly Tristan Jackson is on the outs. He's inactive. I'm still going to give the lean to Powell, but now Naylor becomes our $200 baller, right?
Exactly.
Because it is an Adam Troutman. He got a big price bump since Monday on DraftKings. I think he's up to like 3,400. So, okay. Well, I may need to rework the team free money head-to-head. So you guys can find those there in DraftKings lobby. Username EMac in the $1 section, because I am the last of the big spenders. I'll drop another 10 in there because we need to get some excitement generated here, because we need another 100 likes before Mama Mac is going to make a birthday appearance. It's her 80th birthday. You guys forgot to get her a gift?
Hit the
like button.
All she wants is you to hit the like button. That's all she's asking.
That's it. It's not a lot. And her degenerate son will entice you with another 10 team free money lineups in there. I'm going 27 and 18 in my head-to-heads on DK main slate cash. You realize that by the time you're done with the rake, right, that's only a 3% ROI, despite me winning 65%.
I mean, you take it if you can do that every week. You take it at any day. But
yeah, but DK cash is hard at this time of year. I abandoned it from weeks 2 through 8 because I was just like, this is just too frustrating. But I got sucked back in. So, good times. I guess we're bearing the lead. TJ Hawkinson, technically the wide receiver 1.
Hawkinson, Addison. Yeah, I guess Hawkinson, I'd probably give him the lead over Addison on that front. But yeah, those 2 are kind of the 2 that they're going to get some opportunities. Like they're the guys that Josh Dobbs, the Vikings, are going to want to get the ball to. Those 2 we can play pretty comfortably. It's just after those 2 where it gets really tough. But yeah, I mean, Josh Dobbs has seemed like he likes targeting tight ends. Certainly last week, TJ Hawkinson in his only playing in key situations. It seemed like they had a lot of key situations last week because he was out there playing
15
a ton.
targets. Yeah.
86%. They said he's only going to play in key situations. I think he ran routes on 86% of plays or played 86% of snaps through the first 3 quarters or something like that. So, yeah, that was a bogus report. But yeah, we know that when he's out there, Josh Dobbs is happy to target him. He's been, since he joined the Vikings, he's just been targeted a ton. Like Kirk Cousins targeted him a ton just starting last year. Right away, he's been a target monster for the Vikings. I don't know why the Lions were not targeting him, but happy to have him.
They needed Sam Laporta.
I mean, I guess that's working out okay for them. Yeah, we have Hawkinson projected for what, 14.5 fantasy points. We've got Addison at 12. So yeah, I guess you could say that Hawkinson is the wide receiver one, the number one pass catcher, I guess, for the Vikings, followed by Jordan Addison there. But yeah, those are the two you're playing comfortably. After that, it's a little bit of a crapshoot between KJ Osborne, Brandon Powell, and Jalen Naylor. My guess, like if I had to guess who is going to run the most routes, I would still guess that it's going to be KJ Osborne. Not with a ton of confidence at this point after seeing Naylor taking on that role, Powell playing more even when Osborne was healthy. But I would still think that it's probably Osborne who runs the most routes of them. He's also the most expensive. So I'm going to be taking plenty of shots on Jalen Naylor and some on Brandon Powell as well.
All right. Defenses, I guess. Sorry, Josh Oliver. And Johnny Munt.
Yep. So
what would it take for them to get into your player portfolio? We don't cross them out, but what, lineup 50 or so?
Yeah. So Johnny Munt would probably take lineup 80. Maybe he'd get into one. Josh Oliver would maybe get into 1 in 40. Like I might have a share of Oliver as of now. I think I'm only playing 25 lineups. I don't think I'm going to get there. I think I'd rather just play Naylor. But yeah, I think I'd probably get to Josh Oliver if I played 50 lineups, he'd make it into 1. Johnny Munt, maybe more like 80 or 90. Last week, Josh Oliver ran 7 routes. So to put it in context, 7 routes last week for Josh Oliver. That's 17% route participation. Just 2 routes for Johnny Munt. That is 5% route participation. We do have, as you said, Tristan Jackson out this week. He was pretty involved 2 weeks ago, and then last week he only ran 2 routes anyway. I don't remember if he got hurt. Maybe he got hurt, and I just
no, it was your guy that ran 90% that I forgot about that I've already lost track of his name. Jalen Naylor.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if that was because of a Tristan Jackson injury that I missed. But yeah, regardless, we don't have to worry about Tristan Jackson. It appears that Jalen Naylor is just going to take over that role.
All right. The Vikings defense, not really the Purple People Eaters, but Denver has allowed 4 or more sacks in 5 of their last 6 games. That's not good. The Broncos, however, do a pretty good job of limiting turnovers, limited passing game. Wilson has just 4 interceptions on the season. Minnesota does have multiple sacks in 5 of their last 7 games, and 3 of those they have 4 or more. I wish this game was in Minnesota, but I still think the defense is in play. It's borderline. Like I would actively target them to be above the field on them in the flex if this game was in Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah, I like they've been a pretty good defense this year. It's been pretty exciting to see them go from being just absolute trash last year to actually being pretty good this year. Certainly happy to play some Vikings. And this is, for kickers and defenses, I'm generally just trying to follow the tools, which we have them exactly neutral right now in the captain spot, 3.2% ownership, 3.2% optimal. We have them very slightly over-owned in the util, basically neutral at 16% ownership, 16% chance of being optimal. So if I have the Vikings defense in right around 19-20% of my lineups, that would be ideal. I'm just going to try to get somewhere, in the teens to low 20s is how much Vikings I want. And I don't know, maybe I'll have a share or 2 of the Vikings defense in the captain spot, but that's not a priority for me at all.
All right. Maddie C says, is anybody playing kickers? Look at that etiquette. Let's talk kickers real quick. We'll use that to transition through the last of the Vikings, then over to Denver there. We have Greg Joseph. My assessment on him, same as it was last week. He is perfectly league average. He does not do well beyond 50, 7 of 16 since the start of last season. So Greg the leg, he is not, but otherwise he's pretty good. He's literally like league average, no issues whatsoever. especially inside of 40. On the other side, you have Will Lutz. So this is his first season outside of the Superdome. He has only missed 2 field goal attempts. It would have been 3, except Buffalo had 12 men on the field, so he got to re-kick it and got 4 field goals in the last game. So he is solid as well. Neither one's spectacular, but I think they're in play for this game. Despite having 2 decent offenses, 2 offenses that are playing a little bit better, Denver's hard to get excited about because they're averaging 25 passes per game, like over their last 6 games. That's not very much. But, you know, the kickers could be, excuse me, the hiccups now. The kickers could be in play tonight in what is a game that is not that different than last Sunday's projected point total. So even though
what was the game last Sunday?
Well, I erased over this. I believe it was feels like it was the Jets and somebody.
Was it the Jets and the Raiders maybe, or Chargers? One of those. I feel like I've had some of those recently.
I have to go look and see. It's funny because so many weeks, whoever plays on primetime game one week usually plays on a primetime game then two times in a row.
I've noticed that. Do you do that intentionally?
They do. And it's something they've been doing for at least the last 5 or 6 years, because as I've been writing all the primetime games, you end up writing up the same teams. And they've really started, they're trying to keep people away from short weeks. Yet we still have people playing Thursday on the short weeks. And why don't they make it so people come out of a bye and play on Thursday night? Because perhaps there would be less injuries on Thursday night if they did that. But that is neither here nor there. But now we are on to Denver. So Russell Wilson has 19 sacks in his last 5 games, holds on to the ball too much. He does have at least 20 rushing yards in each of those games. I went and looked that up just for you, Neil, and he's got 40 in 3 of them. So not too shabby there. He has not reached the 200-yard milestone in the last 5 games. So pause on that for a minute. He has not eclipsed 200 yards in over a month. Yikes.
Yes.
He still is second in the league with 18 touchdowns.
Wow, that's crazy.
Pretty efficient when you're looking at touchdowns. Can that last without volume? I don't know. How are you feeling about Russell Wilson? Would you put him in as the captain? He's
honestly,
great flex play, but would you put him in as the captain?
More or less copy paste exactly what I said about Josh Dobbs.
Okay.
Like, he has moderate rushing upside. I'm only requiring 1 pass catcher. More often I'm going to have 2 when I have him in the captain spot. One difference is we actually have positive leverage on Russell Wilson in the captain spot, very slightly, 11.6% ownership to 12.1% optimal. So yeah, I'm certainly happy to play him in the captain spot. Generally, if I have Russell Wilson in the captain spot, I'd like to have at least 2 plus Denver pass catchers in there. I'm not requiring it. I'm only requiring 1 because, as you said, he has shown a little bit of rushing upside. Maybe he rushes 1 in and doesn't need 2 pass catchers to get there. But generally, if you're playing Russell Wilson in the captain spot, you're hoping that he does get 300 yards passing and he's spreading the ball around to multiple receivers. So prefer to have him if I'm in the captain spot with multiple pass catchers. If he's in the flex, I'm always playing at least 1. I am requiring at least 1 regardless of where I'm playing him. But yeah, he's going to end up being one of my most rostered players. Currently, I have in the flex, actually, I have each of the quarterbacks right now, and I'm not done crunching, but as of right now, I have each of the quarterbacks in the flex 64% of the time, at captain about 20% of the time. So I'm getting to a good amount of both of these quarterbacks. I'm seeing something weird in my numbers. I have not set a cap on my captain exposure yet, so that will change things a little bit, but I'm hoping to have around, I don't know, 60 to 70% of each of these quarterbacks ultimately, like across both captain and flex.
Ooh, Baldy and the Oaf with a good question. How much Sills should he have compared to Naylor? I do not think, is Sills even active? Question, which I don't know because I just
believe
refreshed.
So we have 0 projection for Sills, so I would definitely prefer Naylor over Sills. Let me see if there's a reason we don't have a projection for him, because I have not even thought about Sills. He played 4 snaps last week. That was his first action of the year. I don't think he is inactive. I don't remember seeing him on the inactives list. but he is not somebody who is really on my radar tonight. Whereas Naylor at least has, like, we saw him get 90% of the snaps last week, and it's not like KJ Osborne is some world beater who they need to have out there. So there's at least some possibility that Naylor takes on a real role, whereas I don't really think that's in Sills's likely range of outcomes.
Yep, you're right. He is not on the inactives list.
Is he on the practice squad? Maybe that's
I'm trying to go. Why is it so hard to find the practice squad stuff? I wish they just had like a link to all of it.
It would be much easier if they would just give us all of that information, because that's you look at the inactives, and people screw that up all the time. Oh, he's not on the inactives list, so I can play him. And it's like, no, he was never called up from the practice squad. And David Sills is definitely one of those guys who might just
and then you read stuff. Yeah, who the Amendola, the kicker, was listed as out on DK today, even though Saturday he was signed off the practice squad because they released him. He went back to their practice squad, and they came. It was some transaction that was different than just moving him back to the practice squad, which made him get the out, or the out symbol. And it was like, no, the other guy's hurt. He's going to play. So even before kickoff this morning, he still had the red O next to his name. Yeah, Sills has only played. Last week was the only time he saw the field, 4 snaps total. So
they did. So last week they had a tweet that said, we've elevated Lucas Krull and David Sills to the practice squad. I actually want to look at because Lucas Krull might be interesting if he plays. Let me see if he is active. Would have had to have been like earlier this afternoon.
So you read the same one I did. So Sills is active. Kroll, I think, is active as well.
Wait, Sills is active? That was from last week that I was reading.
So here's one from yesterday. Broncos announced they have elevated David Sills from the practice squad to the active roster for Sunday night's game.
This from yesterday?
Kroll may not be activated. Who is this report? This is a guy from the Denver Gazette. He's got almost 40,000 followers. Okay. He has not updated his tweet. I don't think he'd let that one live out there.
Yeah, where is? I'd like to know if Krull is active. I'm glad that this question was asked, because I had meant to look up whether Lucas Krull was active, and the latest I've seen is November 13th, or from the Broncos.
Well, I just sent him a tweet. We'll find out if he gets back to us.
So on November 18th, he says, is this Chris Thomason you're talking about?
Yes.
He says, with Lucas Krull not activated.
Which seems weird. Evans. Yeah, that seems weird.
Maybe for Sunday Night Football, you have to do it a day ahead of time. I don't know. It is very strange. But it's possible, like, because maybe the league requires it because of fantasy sports, that kind of stuff.
No, I doubt it. That'd be too proactive.
That would be too proactive. But the fact that he says with Lucas Krull not activated, I'm assuming that Krull is out.
That makes sense. All righty. Where are we? 200 like, come on, get us another 50 likes, and Mama Mac will be making an appearance. There's 1,000 of you watching. It's her 80th birthday. We already had a lovely birthday dinner. I gave her my Mac book or whatever we got from DK with the Onyx rewards. That was her Christmas/birthday present. Not bad. Yeah. She needed a new one. She was just using a little iPad with the keyboard. It's like, Mom, I'm not going to use this. You can have it. So, in any event, sorry. But yeah, hit the likes. All right, we have 30 minutes, Neil, until kickoff. So we will regain our composure, and we will look here at wrapping up Russell Wilson. So you and I have the same rules. Wilson and captain, I went back and forth, but I did say 2 pass catchers.
You required it. I think that's totally reasonable. I thought about 2 versus 1. I end up, because I give boosts, I'm just assuming that I'm going to get 2+ in almost all my lineups. I just didn't require it.
So after hearing you say that, I went back and changed it and just gave I required 1, and then I boosted a bunch of people.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
The other rule I did make is I said, captain, I don't want Judy or Sutton together. If one is the captain, I decrease the other by 20%, just because there's no yardage volume and there's no PPR volume.
Yeah,
24.5 passing attempts over the last 5 games on average. Even if you have an 80% completion rate, that's only 20 PPR points or 10 half PPR points. That's not a lot to go around for these guys. So that made me a little nervous. The rule I did not set this rule. I am not limiting myself to just 2 of the Denver running backs. I am allowing all 3 to come in on the same lineup. Our 4th, prior to the inactives, our 4th most optimal lineup had all 3 of them in it.
really.
And it works, and it was a point off of the best lineup. And the reason it works is because Javonte Williams is going to be on the field about 60% of the snaps, but he's going to get about 80% of the touches. So when he's out there, he's getting the looks. Pirine is cheap enough that if he gets 2 or 3 targets, couple catches, 20 yards, he'll be okay. And then undrafted free agent Jaleel McLaughlin, he is the true RB2 backup. He should get 6 or so carries, 1 to 2 targets. So why, he's okay in the passing game. Why would they put in Pirine? Pirine's a better pass protector than the undrafted free agent. And we just said that Russell Wilson was sacked 19 times in the last month. So they need pass protection in certain situations. But you can see a path for all 3 of them just because of how their pricing worked on DK. I don't know what I would do on FanDuel. But I'm usually into limiting a backfield committee like this. I'd be into limiting it, but they all have good roles, specific roles. Could the other 2 be better if one of the guys gets hurt? Yeah, but how much?
Right. Yep. That's McLaughlin, I would say, is the closest thing. He's like a dollar store Devon Achane. Like he's just like a kind of an electric back who could get it done on limited carries. That dollar store maybe is that hurtful to say, to call him a dollar store? I'm just saying Devon Achane.
Devon Achane. I had to wait a whole month. We all waited a whole month for him to come back.
That was painful. Yeah, no, that sucks. Yeah. RIP. But I think Jaleel McLaughlin, like the reason that you might be willing to play him even on limited snaps is he is, I would say, the most explosive back in this game. So if he gets an open space, he's probably going to take it to the house. So you can hope for that at 2,800, relatively low ownership. I think that he's a fine play at his ownership, even on limited touches, just because he does have kind of that electric stuff.
Yep, and friend of the program, Stephen Leibowitz says, Pirine gets most of his stuff when the Broncos are behind. Absolutely, yep. But he's still cheap enough that he's going to get a little bit of passing work. Is he going to be optimal, or is it the best situation for him if they're not down? No, he's the last guy I want of these 3 players, including Price, and probably my 5th favorite running back between the 2 teams. But I'm not crossing him out. And I'm not making rules for these guys. That reminds me. Did you do any rules for Madison or Chandler?
Nope. Although that is a rule that you could certainly set, because it's really hard to imagine both of them getting there at these price tags, because Madison's 7,400, Chandler's 7,000. So I guess I haven't set the rule because currently I'm not playing any Chandler. I think if he were getting like 2 or 3% ownership, I'd be really interested. But we have him at 9% ownership. At 7,000, I don't know. It's hard for me to envision him getting there on 35% of the carries, 40% of the carries, what I'm anticipating. But certainly he's got that contingent upside. Maybe he does have more standalone value than I realize. Again, we don't really know how things are going to break down here. So maybe so the reason I don't have the rule set, first of all, I generally don't set that rule, but also I currently am not getting to any Ty Chandler. Maybe if I end up deciding to get some, I actually think this is one of the rare circumstances where if I were to set a rule for running backs, it kind of makes sense for the Vikings here, I think, given the price tags.
All right.
Although the counterpoint again is if they are able to run all over the Broncos, it's possible that they just are, running against this Broncos run defense that, like, I think it was against this team that Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane combined for 99 DK fantasy points one week. So, maybe it is a rule that you don't want to set, because if they're able to just run all over the Broncos, maybe that's the way they go about it.
Some would say they are running.
Who would say that?
The Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, they might.
Alrighty. Continuing on back to the Broncos. That was a good discussion on their backfield or their running back situation, because it is. They want to run the ball. They run the ball just over 55% of the time, which is one of the most in the league. That's how they want to do it. Cortland Sutton leading the team with 57 targets. That's only 6.5 per game. Shockingly, he has 13 red zone looks, 7 touchdowns. Over the last 6 games, he has more than 54 yards only once. And I think it was like 76 or something like that. It was not a lot. Jerry Jeudy, only $400 less than Sutton on DraftKings, $3,000 less on FanDuel. He's Sutton's easier to play on DraftKings. Judy's easier to play on FanDuel. Marvin Mims, season high 52 snaps on Monday Night Football. That was as many snaps as he had in the prior 3 games. So he had 1 target in all of that. He's still the return guy. He's still dynamic, but for whatever reason, they'd rather get little Jordan Humphrey the ball than him. Speaking of little Jordan Humphrey, he had his first target in 5 games on Monday night. I believe it was for a 14-yard catch. He has 5 catches this year for 40 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah. So last week I was all over Mims. He maybe put up negative fantasy points in that game because I think he had negative rushing yards. 73% route participation. Sean Payton said he wanted to get him more involved. He played him more. He let him run the routes, and then just didn't do anything. I think he got negative yardage on his 1 carry, and then didn't have any reception. So very disappointing last game for Marvin Mims. The nice thing is we did actually see him run more routes. We saw him play more snaps. So if you want to go back there, and honestly, I'm going back there again, even after he disappointed me so much in that last game. I'm still going to be going to Marvin Mims, hoping that he can pay off, that they actually find a way to get him the ball. It is crazy that he's up to 5,600 after doing absolutely nothing in that game. But yeah, we have him at 12% util ownership, 0.3% captain ownership. We actually have slightly negative leverage on Mims in the util. We have him optimal 7% of the time, but I think I'm going to take some shots there. I don't know that I'm going to go crazy like I did last week where I was well over the field, but I think I might still be a little bit over the field, because the fact that he's at least on the field, the fact that they keep saying they want to get him the ball, I'm gonna continue going there. Sean Payton, I hate you. I have always hated you. I will continue to hate you, most because of my Vikings fandom, and he has mocked us in the playoffs. But yeah, just also because he does stuff like this all the time.
So that takes us to tight ends. Here we have, where is my notes? Adam Troutman and Chris Manhertz. They're mostly blockers. Wilson traditionally has thrown 2 touchdowns to the tight end in the red zone. He did that all throughout his Seattle career. He didn't care who it was. Even when he had Jimmy Graham after the Saints, he still just, whoever was the tight end that was open tended to get the ball. So 6 red zone opportunities for Troutman, which is more than any other Broncos pass catcher aside from Sutton. Tight ends did not get any targets in week 8. Of course, they didn't during the bye week, but in the last game, Troutman had 2 and Manhertz had 1. We mentioned Lucas Kroll. They have the guy I've sent the tweet to hasn't gotten back to us. I'm going to have to assume Kroll and is out though. And then speaking of, come on in. We're having a guest here. You can just pop over right here. This is Mama Mac.
Hello, very nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
Thank you for coming on our program
today. Yeah,
I know our chat is very excited to have you making a guest appearance here. We've been looking forward to it all week. Happy birthday! I didn't even say that. Happy birthday! That's very exciting. Have you had a nice 80th birthday?
I've had a lovely birthday, and thank you for your wishes. And of course, I wish every sports fan out there the very best.
Thank you. Well, hopefully my Vikings can get a win tonight.
All right.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it happens. Carry on, boys.
All right.
Thank you,
Mama Mac.
Thanks for joining us. That was fun.
And Chad, I will show her all the chats after the show. So
she is a very young 80, and I'm not just saying that. Very young semen, which I guess isn't all that surprising. EMac is a young 60, so you know.
Oh, that hurts. But yes. Yeah, now you guys can do the math. My mom's 80. I'm pretty old too. So there we go.
You see chat going wild for your mom.
Yes, and I will share all this with her after the show. So thank you for all you guys putting that stuff in there. So hit the like button for, hey, maybe we can get to 300. That'll be the best likes we've ever had on our this season for Sunday Night Football. All right, 20 minutes to go here, Neil. We've got to look at I think we hit everything with the tight ends.
Let me touch on Adam Troutman, just because I do think that it's an important sort of talking point, just because on the year, Adam Troutman, 61% route participation, just 19 targets in 9 games. So not exactly a target monster out there. But last week he was the guy we all wanted to play at, like, I think he was 200 or something, way too cheap. And then he ended up only running routes on 43% of dropbacks last week. So for whatever reason, they took him out of the passing game. And I think part of that, and part of the reason that I was really interested in Lucas Krull, if he were to play, Lucas Krull ran routes on 14 dropbacks, 38% of dropbacks last week. So the fact that Lucas Krull is inactive again, I would guess that Troutman is back to running routes on 60+% of plays. So I actually do have some interest in Troutman again, because I'm assuming, like, I think we would have seen a tweet if Lucas Krull had been activated from the practice. I think we would have seen a tweet about it. So I'm assuming that Krull is out here, and we can go back to Adam Troutman. I'm trying to find what we have his ownership at in my latest 10% ownership. So I think that's pretty reasonable ownership. He's no longer, like last week, part of the reason we want to play him is he was like min priced. Now he's at 3,600, but I still think that he is in play at 10% ownership. The fact that Lucas Krull is out helps a little bit.
All right, getting that all cleaned up here. Fortunately, I got on my rules. I just ran with our true optimal lineup now does have all 3 Denver Broncos running backs in it. There's like 15 lineups that are within just barely a half a point of each other. So it's semantics. And I think that encapsulates 7 different captains. So anything can happen. But just for those wondering, they were all in that lineup. That was a little bit of a surprise to see there. Let's see, 18 minutes to go here. Let's see, Neil. I believe we've got one real important thing to say, and that would be that promo code Millie ends tomorrow. What is promo code Millie? Well, that is the promo code that will get you 20% off any stochastic Sims package, either the NBA or the NFL, and you can choose 1 week or 1 month. Whatever you choose, when it comes time to put in the coupon code, put in Millie, M-I-L-L, and you will get 20% off. So that's a pretty good deal there. We also have the Stochastic Avatar contest. I'm going to drop the link for that into chat. You guys have heard us talk about it, but in the interest of time, I'll just drop that link there, and you guys can cover that. I do want to do a screen share of the owner's box link here real quick. So Neil, this is your time to upload your lineups.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Love
and then I will go next since mine are mostly ready. But let me show you guys this, because we have a lot of cool pages that people just don't tend to go. They just don't know where to find them. So this is one of them. So I'm going to drop this link into chat, the YouTube chat as well. So we have these, and then Nate Perkins, we'll get to your super chat. Let me save that as well. So in here, when you're looking at, you can go under to deals, and you can find all the different deals that we have. They're grouped by all of the promos. You can look at just by sports betting sites. You can look at DFS sites, casino stuff, whatever's going on with Stochastic, etc. So Laffy wrote up this explanation, but he comes down and he shows you, here's everywhere where owner's box is available. You click through this. It's just like clicking through our link. If it asks for you for the promo code, you can put in Stochastic1. But if you come in on our link, even if it asks you for it, if you came in on our link, you'll still be tagged as our referral. But it explains the $100 deposit match. It talks about the 2 contest tickets that they will get you. It shows you everywhere it's legal to play. Laffy did point out that you get the 2 free tickets. You get the $5 anytime contest ticket, and then you get the $5 lightning round ticket. As soon as you go into the lightning round lobby, it's going to activate that ticket. So you'll want to be ready to draft when that one goes live. But otherwise, and Laffy even said, it caught me off guard, but hey, it was a $5 ticket. And I believe you like the lightning round stuff, Neil.
I do. I think it's pretty fun. It's kind of similar to a cash game. And I've had success at it. So I think I like it in part because I found it to be very beatable.
And then back to promo code Millie. Look, we have all sorts of evergreen videos that show you how to utilize the Sims for NFL, for NBA, etc. And Greg's done a couple more since then as well. When you sign up for one of our packages, you get access to the Discord. We have the Sims support channel where there's people talking about Sims all day in that and how they're using them and what they're doing. So we want to make sure that you guys have access to all this. If the Sims are a little too daunting for you, we do have the lineup generator, which encompasses all of the tools and is built off the same platform that the Sims does. But it gives you lineups, and then you decide if you like the lineup or not, and you get a nudge a couple things. Whereas the Sims, you're actually touching everything if you want to, or just pushing a button and cashing money like apparently Greg Ehrenberg does.
Yeah.
But there we go. That is anyway, promo code Millie for the Sims, 20% off any 1 week or 1 month package. You can do NBA or NFL, and then of course sponsored by Owner's Box here.
Well done.
All righty. Did you get your lineups up?
I'm getting close. Do you need me to talk about something while you're doing your lineups?
No, I'm good. I'm good. We got 14 minutes. My panic doesn't set in yet. And again, I've already got the cash game lineup built. I'm now just setting my exposure caps. I've got all my rules built out, so I'm just going to hit crunch a few times. So
nice. Okay.
I'll be there shortly.
I'm not going to do what I did last night, EMac, where I had 0 lineups in until
I went back and watched that, and you literally, like, I was counting it down, and you hit it at 0. Your hands go up.
That was when you told me like 35 seconds left, and I was like, okay, I have good time, and then it didn't copy paste. I realized that I think it did the whole, like, I closed the spreadsheet and it gave me the, like, do you want to save this to clipboard? I think that I had said no on accident, and so then the panic set in when I had so little time left.
Yeah, the panic is never any fun.
No. No, it is not.
Alrighty. So, let's go back to Denver defense. So Dobbs has been sacked 4 times in his 2 games with Minnesota. He has 0 interceptions. He has just 5 interceptions in his time with Arizona. So he does a pretty good job of limiting turnovers. Denver has just 3 sacks in the last 3 games, 0 in the last one, and then 3 2 ago, and then 3 ago, 0 again. Yikes. The team does have 4 picks and 5 fumble recoveries in the last 2 games, but hey, they played Josh Allen, right? So that's like starting with 2 turnovers right there. The other thing that's interesting about Denver, they do have interceptions in 6 straight. That's not nothing there.
Impressive.
Who's your number 1 captain for cash games? I will be playing Javonte Williams.
That seems like a reasonable. I was thinking maybe Javonte Williams, maybe Josh Dobbs. Oh yeah, because of the price tag. Yeah, I think you're probably, and we have him as the top play 23.4% of the time. So I think that makes a lot of sense. We have him as the optimal captain, Javonte Williams, 18.9% of the time. So I think that is the correct answer.
All right. Are you? My dog must have come in when my mom was in here, so now she's.
That's fun.
Wait, well, now she's annoyed with me. The dog
is.
Yeah. Mom. Come on, we just took her out to a nice little dinner. It's her birthday. She gets to hang out for 3 months in Florida. Good times here.
Not bad.
All right. How much KJ Osborne are you going with?
How much do I have? I want to have a little bit because, as I said, all right, currently I only have 8% KJ Osborne. Do I have him at captain at all? And that's kind of like, I'd want to have somewhere between 8 and 25% is kind of what my aim for KJ Osborne. Like, I don't want to go crazy there, but as I said, I do think the most likely scenario is that he still acts as the wide receiver 2 behind Jordan Addison. But it's up in the air. We've seen the fact that Jalen Nailor came in and played 90% of snaps after not playing for forever tells me maybe the Vikings are trying to get Jalen Nailor involved. But we haven't had this scenario yet. So it's hard to know what they're planning to do with Jalen Nailor, Brandon Powell, and KJ Osborne. Except for that we have had, all season they've had the ability to play Brandon Powell, and it's always been KJ Osborne playing 90+% of snaps. So I think that is the most likely scenario. They just like him enough. They're going to keep going there.
And then did you say how much Nailor you ended up with?
40% Nailor.
Holy cow. So he's your $200 baller. This is Neil's nobody.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he could be completely like relegated to the bench, just not active at all. There is definitely risk involved with Jalen Naylor, but the fact that he was out there for 90% of snaps last week, like they didn't have to do that. They decided to play him ahead of Brandon Powell, play him more snaps than Brandon Powell last week. And that's, I mean, 90%, that's hefty. So I'm just assuming that he's going to be out there for 40-50% of snaps, but I have no idea. It's just we have him at pretty low ownership, and he's really inexpensive, so easy to leave salary on the table.
All right, I am joining you. I'm going to go up to 20. Oh, because you like to leave salary on the table. Okay.
I do like to leave salary on the table.
Yeah, I will be upping him to 25%. Because I am a fan of the $200 players on DK. And just
I will say,
take the zero.
I might have to keep working because I only have 8% Marvin Mims too. I told you I have a lot of. He is 5,600. That is, it's a little bit of a tough price tag for Marvin Mims. So maybe I'm not going to go too crazy there. But my numbers I think are not final. I do have a crunch in, but I think I'm going to keep looking at it a little bit, and I might these numbers might change a little bit.
All right, I'm going to run through real quick here. So I'm under the field on the Broncos D. I'm matching the Vikings. Kickers, I'm matching the field with both. I'm only playing 3 tight ends. Oliver's only on 8% of my teams. Troutman is on 8%. TJ Hawkinson, I capped him at 60. He's on 60. These are all for the flex. I've got Cortland Sutton at 40%. Addison, I only have Addison at 80, at 15%. I better build some Addison teams here.
Yeah, you're going to want. I mean, Jordan Addison is. I'm hopeful for Jordan Addison. He's going to have a big game here.
Yeah, so let's get that one in there, and this is why tonight, because I didn't set as many rules. Just so you guys know what I'm doing behind the scenes here is I'm going through and I'm seeing that I'm getting the player mix that I want to, and that is harder to do just by running a bunch of crunches. Because when you don't set as many rules, weird stuff can happen. Like right now, I'm getting 3% Alexander Mattison. That feels like not very much.
It's not a lot.
Oops, I should not.
I'm playing a lot more of the Vikings defense than the Broncos defense, and I can't decide if that's just because I'm a homer who's going to be watching the game at the bar and wanting the Vikings defense to crush anyway, or if I just think I feel safer with the Vikings defense against Russell Wilson than, and maybe it's also that I've been watching Josh Dobbs look so good that I'm like, he's going to be great. But currently I'm playing more of the Vikings defense. Could end up biting me for sure.
And now I've got too much Samaje Perine. See, this stuff gets a little hectic.
It
like
does.
Snap says, it's getting kind of hectic.
Yeah.
All right, we'll run 10 more lineups. I'm going to export that, and we will be live because we have 7 minutes until we hit lock. I'm playing 132 lineups tonight, Neil. It's a very scientific number.
Yeah. What's the reasoning between 132?
Because I have my cash game lineup, which is probably duped within this 131 that I've built out. So, that sound you hear me saying is I have Lucas Kroll lineups. I better go delete those.
Yeah. It is possible. I saw Abby, what's his first name? Faduni Abby saying that Patrick Surtain might be shadowing Addison. That is a little bit of a threat, but I'm not worried about it. Yeah, there's a chance he is, but he's not the same as he was in years past. Addison, that is. This is Surtain.
His first year. That Surtain is. He's Father Time is undefeated, catches up to everybody. He's still a good corner, but I don't think he's the shutdown guy that he was 2, 3, 4 years ago. So I'm not as concerned about it. But that's always a good question to talk about shadowing, etc. If it's a crucial play, if Addison gets hot, if he's just unstoppable, yeah, they're going to go put the best guy on him and say, cool this guy down. That right. I agree with, but is he going to go out there and be a shutdown guy? I don't know, because they still got TJ Hawkinson, right? So that helps a lot.
Yeah, it's something you could factor in if you want to. I don't think I'm that worried about it. I'm not factoring in.
No, who? Revis. He was the one guy that was.
Yeah.
The
Revis Island.
All right. So, apparently I still have 10 $1 head-to-heads out there. You guys got to go grab those in the DK lobby. So that will be good. I see we have other people wandering here. I'm uploading my lineups now. Did you get yours in, Neil?
Yeah, I think that oh man, I go position by position looking, and I liked everything except for I have 0 Ty Chandler, and I did decide that I want to have at least some, like a couple of shares of Ty Chandler. So I'm close. I'm very close to being done with my lineups. Not quite there yet. Can't decide how much Brandon. Right now, I only have 4% Brandon Powell, which feels dangerous to me.
Like dangerous Wilson?
Not at all. Not at all like dangerous Wilson. Mr. Unlimited. Yeah.
Good times. Good times. Yeah. All right. 4 minutes to go. I feel like I don't have enough Addison, but we're gonna go. Oh dear God, I have 20% Russell Wilson in the captain spot.
So do I, which I'm okay with though.
All right. If you're okay, I'm okay. I'm uploading.
All right.
3.5 minutes to go. Yes, that was my wife that just walked by, I think, and my mom was in the doorway, and I can hear them talking, saying, "Well, I'm pretty sure he must be off air. Why are they still on air? Didn't they start at 8:15? He goes for 7:15. He goes for an hour." Well,
that's
normally
awesome.
We would, but hey, kick is 8:20 on Sunday nights.
I'm not looking at you, so I did not see or hear any of this, but that's really funny.
Oh shoot! Captain MVP for cash on FanDuel and DK. On DK, definitely it's Javonte Williams. I would probably say the same thing on FanDuel. Pirine or Adam Troutman. He's also playing Javonte Williams. I would play Pirine.
I think I'd probably play Pirine too. For FanDuel, it's very close. We have Russell Wilson as the optimal captain the most frequently at 14.5. Since there is no salary multiplier, I'd maybe go Russ, but Javonte Williams is number 2, so really hard to go wrong with it. I think your options for cash are Russell Wilson, Javonte Williams, Joshua Dobbs.
All right, comment God, no worries at all. Let's see, 2 minutes to go. I got to double back on Pat Surtain. I'm not gonna let that dominate me. He's not the shutdown guy, in my opinion. I'm not going to worry about it. I'd be more worried about Josh Dobbs being Cinderella with the clock striking midnight with Patrick Surtain.
All right, you are. A lot of people in chat pointed out that Patrick Surtain is 23 years old. I was like, is Patrick? I thought he was super young. Surtain.
How am I confusing him with?
His dad was also in the. Wait. You're confusing him with a past Broncos shutdown receiver. Or
cornerback from like 3 or 4 years ago. My apologies. You guys are correct. Let me reframe that. I don't worry about shutdown corners in the most case. Pretty much since Darrelle Revis and maybe Josh Hayden. I think the way they've changed the defense is to put really go heavy in that 2 over the top to limit the big plays. It's mucked with some stuff over the last 3 years. We don't have any quarterbacks averaging 300 yards this season per game. Number 1, I think, is 291 yards is the best per game. And we usually have, 4 or 5 that are at that level or higher. I mean, even Pat Mahomes, who averages like 315, 308, 307 the last few years, he's like, what, 260 something. The game will catch up again. But at this point, it's not the high aerial circus it was. We've hit unders in, I think Lofty was saying 67% of the primetime games have been unders.
Yeah.
And even home field advantage has been mostly negated at this point, which is weird as well. So it's closer to like 55% home win instead of like 62, which is what it usually is. Pretty crazy. But yes, I whiffed on that. So sorry.
I mean, it didn't really affect your analysis. Just it's more.
It was faulty logic. I got where I wanted to go, but it wasn't for the correct reason. And
true.
It is a privilege to be on these shows. I would prefer to give accurate information.
Yeah, we all would. I like that. Apparently, StreamYard Elements timed out Faduni Abbey for using emojis. That's very strange. That was not us. Just to be clear, Faduni. We did not time you out. That was an automatic thing.
All
right. Are we?
You got to go to the bar.
I do. I got to get out to the bar. I got my hat
are you
on.
Playing 2 defenses against me in cash or just 1? I'm going to go look at your lineup now. That's why it's fun when I do the team free money, because I go through and I look and I make sure, that's, who's Melissa's got this against me. Seth's got this. Sotex has that, right? It's fun just to see. And then I keep those lineups up on my computer all night and just check on them. So
nice.
Well, all right,
he's not telling you.
Get on out of here. You can sign us off and push the button.
All right, hit that like button if you have not already done so. Thank you guys very much for watching. Skol. Good luck tonight.